Alright, welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. I'm just going to make a quick recap on the section 4, so how to conduct a research and gather quality data. First, especially if you're going to gather quality data, identify what are the most to least valuable if you're conducting a research for a consulting project, because data is something very powerful. It can help you to influence, persuade, reinforce your point of view, but also can be misleading. So the three main sources of data what you can get is from the company, trust sources. They have a great record of proven record of research report, peer review, and aggregate source. This is the least valuable because you can verify who the author is most of the time, and they usually are behind to a paywall. And the first party data, you have to, most of the time you have to sign an NDA agreement before you access to that data. And then when it comes to conduct a research from a broad perspective, is look things from different perspectives. Play devil advocates with yourself, because things are not always black and white. Search and research for relevant information. Keep record, a note of every source you obtain, and then qualify the quality of that data. And don't forget to circle back with the client. Okay, so when I look at a guidelines that Paul Mendes mentioned, right, as a marketing, we can much apply that to a software engineer as well. But the guidelines he outlined based on the marketing Google, so put in their Google lens, is on a tourism website. Okay, is look at their website, understand what they offer, how much they charge, or the product and service, and then you go into the specific by looking at the category, the review about the company, understanding what makes this company unique, because this is what you're going to use in your consulting suggestions. So gather all the confident data, if you can have access to that, which is the first party data, to see what they have done in the past, how they have been performing, and from there provide your suggestions. So this is one of the things that I need to do for a particular client right now. Okay, so getting access to this, I already signed an NDA agreement for that, and then I need is to, well, look what they have done in the past and how they have been performing. Okay, so now I can know how can I provide my suggestions. So combine your research with data from their website, their brand, what they offer, and how much they charge. Okay, combine all of that to then move on to the competitor analysis. And this is to know who the other players in that industry are and see what you can learn from them while you're doing a keyword research. That is what you're going to write or use some other keyword tools like from Google or any other keyword tool out there to get a clear idea what's going on in that industry. And on top of that, you now get up-to-date data from real-world news to see that everything that you have researched what is most likely to work today. Okay, and that include is how this industry is adapting to regulations, the tourist website or the tourist industry, and where this industry is going. Okay, so because I just want to, for now, a practice for my own practice is like, yes, I want to create a POC commerce with all of this web technology mentions, and I know first what an e-commerce is. Okay, so Amazon mentioned that it refers specifically to the trade in goods and service on the internet. So it is your bustling city center or your brick and mortar shop converted into zeros and one on the internet superhighway. Whereas the Shopify mentioned that yes, even or while e-business refers to operating all activities. Okay, so while e-business refers to all aspect of operating an online business, and here we can talk about the marketing, sales, accounting, management, management operations, uh, human research, IT, customer relationship or customer service, and research and development. E-commerce refers specifically to the trade in good of service on the internet. So then I look at the several way of how this e-commerce or this exchange can happen and the actors involved, whether it's the government, the consumers, and the business. So the most widely common type of e-commerce or aka business model is the business to consumers, okay, where now uh, business offer goods and service to consumers such as online retailers like Amazon, Costco, or Walmart, digital marketplace, Etsy, eBay, service subscription, Netflix, Spotify, online travel and booking, Expedia, Airbnb, Booking.com, or order and delivery service, Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Another way of how, or another type of e-commerce, which is another way of how to exchange this good and service, is from business to business. Here you have is market online marketplace like Amazon, eBay, like Amazon e-business, eBay business, Alibaba, EDI, electronic data interchange, which is paperwork that were traditionally made on paper, like purchase order or invoice. Now it is done electronically using EDI systems. EBM provide that. Online portals where now very large business need to streamline their supply chains and procurement process, which is the involve of large volume, or which involves the purchase of sale of large volumes of goods and service, usually to get a good bid. So they set online portals like Walmart Supply Centers or Arriba's or SAP Arriba Network, wholesale e-commerce like Uline or Granger, and business-to-business payment solutions like PayPal or Stripe. Another type of e-commerce is the consumer to business, like freelance work in platforms like Uber Eats, Upwork, Fiverr, and Freelancer. Uh, survey online survey such as SurveyMonkey, user generated content where now consumers can generate digital content and sell them to business, aka influencers. Okay, and there is a trade-off of that. But in any case, crowdfunding, like Indiegogo and Crowd or Kickstarter, and reverse auctions like Priceline or Name Your Price. Then I look at the government to business, where now they offer is public procurement portals to governments or to business so they can bid on government contracts like the FBO in the US, the Federal Business Opportunity, or the UK Contract Finder Service. Tax paying and or tax filing and payment system like the electronic federal tax payment system on the US, or the HM Custom and Revenue in the UK, permit and licensing applications where now business can apply for food licensing or building permits, international trades and custom clearance, where now governments provide service to facilitate cross-border trade, like electronic custom clearance or export declarations, and business registration, SBA on the US, Small Business Administrations, or the UK Company House. When it comes to government to consumers, well, they provide tax payment portals, so citizens can now pay their taxes from one of these payment options the government provide, like the or in platforms or for institutions like the IRS in the US, the Internal Revenue Server, or the HM Custom and Revenue on the UK, vehicle license registration, DMV California US, this Department Motor Vehicle, or the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency on the UK. Okay. Then we have is passport applications and renewal. On the US, this is the Department of State Passport Service, and in the UK is the UK Government General Register Office. Utility payment of utility bills like water, electricity, property taxes, and other government fees, and ordering on birth and death certificates, like or in platforms like the UK General Register Office or the US National Center for Health Statistics, and that is something very, very interesting, a website, because it provides data about, well, the overall health on the US, even though that it might that this kind of data might be behind to some criteria and some metrics that they only show is what they want to, or a part of the reality, but at least we are getting some data so we can find that. Okay. And then, all right, I also look at the relationship between the consumers to government, which is online donations, where now citizens can donate to government agency or corporations such as disaster relief board in websites like American Red Cross or UNICEF, United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, and online permits for fishing licensing or hunting permits, payment of fines and fees, ticket, uh, traffic tickets or parking tickets, online petitions to influence government policy. So with that, then I'll also look at where does it take place. Right now on the mobile sphere, on the mobile environment, corporations or social media. Okay, this is where the e-commerce takes place. And then I look at the competitor analysis. Huge overview of, well, Amazon, Alibaba, eBay, Walmart, IKEA, okay, and Shopify is another one, and then a keyword research to understand what is going on in that industry, which is more like about websites, Shopify websites, Shopify themes, stores, POS, point of sales, uh, wholesales, express online shopping, gift cards, Amazon or eBay, uh, eBay coins. Okay, is to understand what's going on in that industry, you know. And then I look at, well, how to create effective and appealing consumer report, because after you have done your research, okay, you look at the first party, secondary, and possibly third party data. Now it is time to know how to visualize your finding in a visually engaging presentation. So this report that you're going to present on live with the client will make you really visually understand what you're talking about, right? So in other words, this presentation, you're going to tell to the client how you reach to that conclusion. Okay, that's what you're gonna tell to the client. How do you reach to that conclusion? It's like that. So how do you reach to that conclusion? So here we're going to see is, so once you understand what is the meaning or what is the main goal of this presentation, which is tell the client, hey, tell the client using visually engaging presentations, how do you reach to your conclusions? Okay, and because most of the time people are visual learners, we can process data much more faster than on a call. And also, this will allow you to stand up in your business and let the client recognize you as a potential partner and a professional. So, okay. So here I'm looking at analyze your research. Analyze your research, which is what is the series of steps that you should take in account. Okay, first, analyze your research. This is reporting is very powerful when it is done the right way. And you should precisely know how to use the data you gather before creating your report. Yet you should precisely know how to use the data that you gather before creating your report. So the most valuable data first. So first recognizes that you should know how to use the data that you gather before creating your report. Again, this is part of when you're once you gather uh, data, once you gather relevant data. Okay, now when it comes to conduct the research, the know-how, okay, is that okay? So you should precisely to know how to use the data that you gather before. How you, yeah, you know, you should precisely uh, you should precisely know how to use the data that you have gathered before creating a report. Okay, exactly. So um, to make things more clear is mm, yeah, to make things more clear. So to make things more clear, especially when I'm presenting this data, is to know how to do that. Usually, in a visually engaging presentation, where the whole goal of this is to tell the client visually how you reach to that conclusion. Because most of the time, people are visual learners and understand and process graph and charts much more faster than reading. And this allows you to stand up in your business. So the way of how to do this is like first analyze your research and notes. Okay, again, so research is a very powerful. So research or reporting here. So reporting is very powerful when it's done the right way, and that is, well, you should know exactly how to use the data that you gather before creating a report. And then most put the most valuable data first, because you don't want the client to start to forget what the most important thing was. So you need to put the most impactful data first, so your audience makes sure that they are understanding what the report is revolving around. Okay, so nobody wants to sit an entire presentation just to get to the final page with all the good stuff about it. You need to lay the ground first, present the most valuable data, and then expand on that visual report and differing aesthetic. I'm going to move here slowly, man. Definitely going to move slowly here, because instead of repeating all of this over and over and over, is genuinely understand this. Okay, uh, and when you're going to apply that, which is something that I'm doing right now with a client, you know how to automate that process. Again, you need to do that organically to understand all the challenge involved. For then you can do that. So you can later on do that. Okay. All right. All right. Cool. 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 So uh, here on the second point of put the most valuable data first, you don't want the client to start to forget uh, what the most important thing was. So you need to put the most impactful data first, so your audience can make sure that they are understanding what the report is revolving around. Because nobody wants to see an entire presentation to get on the final page, to get on the final page with all the good stuff about it. So you need to first lay the ground. So you need to lay out the ground first, present the most valuable data, and then expand on that with visual reports and different aesthetics. So this process, okay, of know how to do that, this process of know how to do this report, okay, or this presentation of data based on your finding, this presentation of data based on your finding. Based on your findings. So in other words, put the most valuable data first, which is you need to lay out the ground first, put the most valuable data, and then expand on that with visual reports and different aesthetics. Then you have create templates when needed, especially when once you already have several clients or a particular client, and this saves times a lot. Visualize data into graph and chart, because as I mentioned before, human process 60,000 times faster than reading data. So when possible, include always your visual data in your report. It helps to reduce process time to digest. Okay, so visualize data into graph and charts, because it helps to reduce the process time to digest to your audience. And data visualization helps you make informed decisions. So when you display data in a visually appealing way with a statistic and chart, it's more easy to point out those meaningful patterns as a consultant. The client needs to know how you came with that conclusion, and with that, know you can put your suggestion at practice or into practice. But again, that's the whole idea of creating a report, right? Or a presentation, is that tell the client visually with the statistics in a visually engaging presentation how you reach to that conclusion, so they can see the meaningful patterns and choose you to put that suggestion into practice, which is something that I'm going to write here below this, right? So in other words, or in my own words, the wants client wants to know how you reach to that conclusion through visually and engaging presentations with the statistics. Okay, the client wants So the client wants to know how you reach that conclusion through visually and engaging presentation with statistics, statistics, and yeah, with visually and engaging presentation with a statistic, with charts and a statistic to see meaningful patterns, and then tell and then allow you to implement your suggestions and allow you to implement your suggestion as a consultant. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I just want to make sure that I just want to understand how do you reach that conclusion by looking at all of these charts and the statistics, see the meaningful pattern, and then as a client decide that you are the one who's gonna implement that, and then decide, yes, let's go to put that in practice. Okay, yes, let's go to put that on practice. So okay, so the client wants to know how you reach that conclusion through visually and engaging presentation with charts and statistics to see meaningful pattern and then allow you to implement your suggestions as a consultant. Then I look at different graphs that you may include in your report, especially where are the meaningful, or when you can use that. For example, bar charts, you can use them to see change over time. Okay, compare different category or compare part of the whole. Bar graph is to show change over time. Pie, it is funny. It's a very versatile, and they're best used to show change over time, compare different category or compare part of the whole. For comparison, bar graph, for comparison with other categories, and to show time, and to change, and to show time. So to show change over time and compare different categories and other part as a whole. Pie chart is another way of how you can make comparison with discrete or continuous data, and they're most impactful with small data set. Interesting. And they're most impactful with small data set, again with comparison. Line graph is to show time series relationship with continuous data. Time series relationship with continuous data. Array chart to see the time series relationship, but with different charts. They can represent in volume. Scatter plot to see the relationship between a two set of variables and understand it is correlations in a large amount of data. Scatter plot is to see, okay, scatter plot is most of the time used to see correlation in large amount of data based on two set of variables. Bubble charts are good for displaying nominal comparison or ranking relationship. They showcase nominal comparison or ranking relationship. Heat map display categorical data using intensive color to represent values of geographical area or data tables. So the more intense the color, the more the user is drawn to move their eye through to that. In geographical map, you also have tables to see the comparative cells by representative, waterfalls, charts to show value over time and how various cohort performs over time. And then you got pictograms, okay, are pictograms or infographics. Okay? Pictograms are a simpler way to display statistic using icons. And well, don't forget to leverage with tools and resources for your report. So Microsoft Excel, Statista, Google Trends, Canva. Again, this is for generative reports, Google Charts and Google Sheets, and CMR Analytics. Remember, make it easy to follow and see how others formulated data. And then I look at an example of how to create a report, which is something that I'm not going to look at it because that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.